We back. Everybody's familiar with our podcast once again, coming to you live and direct. Good to be back in the studio with my bro, my co-host, Charley Mack, and I'm Hoopie. And before we introduce the topic, I'm gonna definitely throw it to Charley Mack and let him holler at you. But want to say thanks to the Coalesce Group for everything that you have done, allowing us to partner with your brand. Thank you to Fruit Off the Vine Clothing and Apparel for all that you're doing to clothe and encourage women and young girls, esteeming them so that they will walk around with the right attitude moving forward. So, before we go into it, I'm going to throw it to Charley Mack and let him holler at you.
We in the building, guys, once again. We glad to be back here. That's the pilot. I'm the co-pilot. Passengers, make sure you put those seatbelts on tight and don't get out of your seats until the pilot turn off the seatbelt signs. But before we get this plane pushing, we don't own the rights to this music, you dig, but we gonna let it rock to us. Ain't that right, Cam?
Yes, sir.
So without further ado, let's get this thing pushing.
Well said, bro. Well said. Excited about the topic that was mentioned earlier off the air, and hopefully we can really delve into it. I know we're gonna probably create some friction, different views and takes on it, but I think it's really relevant and it's needed for discussion.
Yes, sir.
And so we're going to talk today from the topic and subject of prenuptial or what are those things called?
No, it's prenup. It's the prenup.
Prenuptial agreements.
Yeah, it's a prenuptial agreement.
I know there are some legal terms for that. When you,
I mean, you can do postnup, prenup, but yeah.
So we want to talk about prenuptial agreements and how that works and how that affects relationships moving forward. Because sometimes it's not even mentioned until you get right before that decision time to say I do, and it doesn't go too well. So I'm gonna let you get a stab at it, and then we'll work our way through the content.
I'm one of those guys who I never understood back in the day why a prenup was needed, and I used to, when I would hear about these really famous people getting divorced and having to give their wives, half of their fortune, and the wives have kind of just sat around, and some of them haven't told one joke, ain't did no movie, ain't did nothing. But then when it was time to kick rocks, they looking for half.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I'm in total agreement and compliance with the men having to dish out a lot of that wealth, because you don't realize it, but when these women marry these men and they're with these men for 10, 15, 20 years, and they've kind of held up their men and their husbands, and they've raised the kids, and they've been housewives, which is not a easy job to do, is to be a housewife and to raise kids. I don't think men really understand how difficult it is to be a housewife and to make sure that the house is clean and your kids are fed and your husband's fed and everything like that. So I agree with it. I think that when it's time for the two to say goodbye, and I think the men should kick that up. And I think because this man have had this woman accustomed to living a certain way for 20, 30 years.
Okay.
So now, just because they're divorcing doesn't mean that she shouldn't, and the kids still shouldn't be entitled to live that way. Okay. Of course, they're not going to probably have what the breadwinner has in terms of his wealth or her wealth, but they should be compensated and living their lifestyle. Put it this way: their lifestyle shouldn't change.
Okay. Yeah.
And let me finish it, and I'll let you go. And then, and another thing, since we're talking about prenup, and I think we're talking about why they're needed or whatever. Well, you have a lot of men who, they're wealthy, and they're like, okay, well, I want you to sign this prenuptial agreement. Mm-hmm. So prenups, people don't understand this. Just because a woman signs a prenup, it doesn't mean that she doesn't get anything.
Oh yeah, it doesn't.
It's
It doesn't
the
mean
way that they contractually write the prenup.
Yeah.
Because I know that Michael Jordan's wife, if they get divorced, she'll get $1 million for every year that they were married.
Okay.
Plus, she'll get money for the kids or whatever. But some people write up their prenups differently.
Yeah.
Some people may get a little bit more. And I kind of heard that, so don't quote me on that with the $1 million. It could be more, but I knew it was something like that. It's like when they get divorced, however long they've been married, she'll get a certain amount. And I want to say it may be more than $1 million. So it just all depends on how the contractual prenup is written up. And I think the women should be compensated with something.
I agree with you. I did realize that it is contractual. So it's however you and your lawyer draw it up. The only other thing is getting the other person to agree to it.
Right.
And it just doesn't happen with men being the breadwinner. Some women are wealthy. Some women have already established themselves financially and have taken on a new husband or a husband for the first time.
Right.
I believe that you should definitely leave the marriage institution with what you came in there with.
Okay.
Meaning, if you were already established and your marriage doesn't work out after 1 year or 10 years, and there's no surmountable amount of money that was made or real property obtained within that time period, but then that person, whether it's male or female, walk away with half. Number one, California's laws are a little bit different. I think California has a system to where they establish common law.
It's community property.
Exactly. It's
community property.
So now you're dealing with something that's bigger than you. But you should have known this going into that marriage.
Done your homework.
Exactly. So speaking to Michael Jordan's situation, I did hear out of his mouth, I think someone was interviewing him some years ago pertaining to his wealth versus this young lady. He said that there was something in his agreement to where she automatically gets $10 million after 5 years.
Right, I knew it was something like
after
that.
5 years of their union, she gets, if she wanted to walk away the next day,
walk away with $10 million.
She's going to walk away with $10 million.
Right.
So he said that some kind of way it goes up.
Right.
But like you said, it's basically how it was designed.
Right.
Getting to my second point is this. I don't think people really see who they're dealing with until subjects like that come up to be discussed.
Right.
Because now all of a sudden, people have mixed emotions. Oh, you don't really care about me. Why do I have to sign this? And why is it all about your money?
Right.
Well, if you care about me, why you tripping about it being a contractual agreement?
Right.
Because if the truth be told, you didn't come in here with nothing.
Yeah.
Or let's just say you didn't come in here on this level.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And I've talked to many professional athletes, mainly NBA players, ex-NBA players, and they would always say that their biggest fear was getting into a situation, it not working out, and they having to give up half to someone that didn't run sprints, they didn't lift weights, they didn't go through the progression of dealing with coaches and attitudes and agents and going overseas and then trying to find jobs. So what they were saying was, why are you even arguing when you didn't even go through the process?
Yeah, but they don't look at it that way.
No, they don't. But then you made a very, very, very important point, and I agree with it 101%. To be a wife, to be a mother, is a full-time gig. And for what a woman has to do to nurture, teach, and take care of the children, but you first, that is not an easy job.
Not at all.
I was Mr. Mom at one time.
Oh, I remember.
And
it's a tough gig.
It's a tough gig.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing the bathing, you're doing the feeding, you're dropping off at school, you're picking up, you're doing the dressing, and then you realize, you say, man, this ain't easy.
Oh no, I know. I remember when I used to have to, pick up Charley from daycare, and then she would want to go to Chuck E. Cheese or to this place, and then I would have to I have to take her, let her do that, and then I had to bring her home. I got to make sure she's fed. What do you want to eat?
Gotta bathe her.
She would want McDonald's or whatever, and then we got to take her home. I got to get her bathed, and I got to get her settled in, and I was only doing that once or twice a week,
right?
And I was like, man, this is a tough gig,
man.
So imagine these women that do it full time. And they're raising, the kids full time, and they got the kids.
You're washing clothes.
I take my hat off to them.
You organizing too, because there's things that a husband needs administratively, and if he really involves you, there's some things that becomes tedious.
Right.
His cleaners, products that he might have to pick up, and we haven't even talked about when he gets sick, or when the babies get sick. And then it goes through the whole house. Now everybody's getting sick at a different time. And you got to repeat the process, But I think prenuptials are accurate. I don't think that it's a total reflection on trust. Because most people, men and women, they're like, oh, you don't trust me.
Yeah, it's not about that.
And it's not about that. I got a lot of millions over here.
Yeah.
And at any point, we're human. You can become jaded. You can get angry enough to just go after the juggler.
Be vindictive.
So
vindictive.
Right. So when we think of prenuptial from the standpoint of legal terms, I don't think it's unfair.
Yeah.
I don't think should feel you deserve half of what this individual worked and earned for. And then some of that, bro, it's inherited.
Yeah.
Why should I give you, and look at this, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay.
Why should I give you half of what I have and what I've been left? You didn't even care about the person that left it to me.
Yeah.
You didn't have no relationship. Yeah. You didn't go visit them when they were sick, and before they transitioned, you was cool on them. But now you want their stuff?
But that's why
I want to live in their house.
Yeah, but that's why you have to have that prenup, and you have to have it contractually written to where, okay, this is what you're going to get. This is what I brought into the marriage before I met you. So you're not entitled to this. But now what we accumulate while we're in the marriage, now you are entitled to that.
Of course.
But you have to understand.
It's fair game.
Different states is different laws. Like California is like I said,
it's a community property
state. There's a lot of other states, their laws are a little different. But I think California got to be probably one of the toughest states in terms of marriage and how that works. So, a lot of men get burnt in marriages in terms of they end up losing a lot. I mean, I know a lot of men who had to give up the house and everything, and they had to go,
start all over. Yeah, start all over.
Yeah, but when you leaving small children behind, you're not gonna get the house. It's gonna go to that mother.
Yeah, of course.
And the father should want
Yeah.
the house to be with his kids.
That's
as
true.
long as his kids are getting taken care
That's
of.
true.
You know. But like I said, man, you just have to write it up the right way, and women have to understand. Okay, this guy he had all this property and all this wealth before he met me. So going into this new marriage, I'm not bringing what I'm bringing into the table. What I bring into the marriage is what I have, but what this man already has is his. So what we accumulate, while we're going to be married for the next however many years, I shouldn't be entitled to this man's wealth or whatever he had before I met him. But you have to write it you have to write it up.
Okay, let me play the devil's advocate a little bit. If you were in a situation where you were seeing someone, you cared about them enough to say, hey, I eventually would like to marry this person.
Right.
But you know that the financial aspect and even aspiration of obtaining wealth is different. Meaning, you don't see that other person, or you don't see that person excelling to that degree because they may not even be wired that way, right?
Right.
But you have all the possessions. But yet, how do you feel about asking her to sign this thing?
Well, you know how I feel. I mean, I'm just going to ask. I'm going to say, look, this is what I got coming into this marriage. I love you enough to where I do want to marry you, but I also know that, there's a thin line between love and hate. I can love you, abundantly today.
Yeah.
And we could hate each other tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's just how it works. So I'm not asking you to sign this because I don't love you. I'm asking you to sign this to protect me. But I'm not telling you in this prenup that if we're married, right? I'm not telling you that if we stay married for 5 years or 10 years, that when we divorce, you don't get anything. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Right.
But I'm trying to protect what I have before we even go there. If she doesn't understand that, then he need to kick rocks.
Well, I think that's the big discrepancy. Love. Well, if you care for me, if you love me, but that's not business. At the end of the day, I'm a commodity, you're a commodity. One is worth a little more than the other, but we're both a commodity.
Right.
How do you plan to help build this? See, I think that becomes a problem too, because sometimes people marry, male and female, they marry into a situation and they just get taken care of.
Right.
They're not enhancing the situation.
Right.
So are you an asset or a liability? Which takes me to my third point is, don't marry somebody that's not compatible in the love area and even in the area of business.
Yeah.
Investing.
Yeah, you're right.
You're investing into
You're right.
You're investing into a loss, but yet you want to be positive about the outcome when the proof is in the pudding. And I think that's where the frustration comes in at, because, man, most women,
Be careful.
They want to marry the rich guy.
Yeah.
They want to marry the NBA player or the producer or the tech, corporate guy. But at the end of the day, what are you bringing to the table? How are you going to enhance that situation? But when the guy that's working hard, every day 9 to 5, maybe making $60K, $80K from hard work, you don't want him. He don't qualify. But yet, when you get with the rich guy, you don't even want to work. You just want to be taken care of. I mean, what is that all about?
Well, man, you have a lot of men and women, but in particular, you have a lot of women who they don't actually get it. It's so funny. I was reading something today on Facebook, and it was somebody. Well, I know who it was. I ain't gonna say her name, but she had made a comment on her post about, a man wants a submissive woman, but she was going through all these da 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 da. See, but to me, when I'm reading that, automatically I'm saying that she's not a submissive woman. Because if you have all this criteria about why you should be submissive or why you shouldn't be submissive, that's a problem right then and there. If you have to ask why I should be submissive, or if it has to be a caveat on why you should be submissive, then that's a problem right there.
That means she's not submissive to begin with.
To begin with. If you got to go through all this thing, well, the only way I'm going to be submissive is this or that. Right there, that's a problem. But that's the sign of that strong black woman who throws around, you know, I'm a strong black woman and this, that, and the other. But that's all fine and dandy. You can be a strong black woman, but you're going to be a strong black woman by yourself.
Yeah. What about?
And I hate to say it like that, but I know a lot of strong black women by themselves because they don't understand between the characteristics and distinguishing between I'm strong and I'm mouthy or whatever the case may be. But at some point, you know, especially for all the women who claim to be Christians and they read the Bible and this, that, and the other, look it up about submissive and how you're supposed to be to, you know, your spouse, you know. And that's a problem in our community and between the black woman and the black man. Okay. That's a major problem, is the submissive part. Okay. And don't get me wrong, women, when I use the word submissive, I'm not talking about you guys should let a man walk all over you. I'm not talking about a man to come home and say, where's my dinner? Where's this? I'm not talking about that, because that's not being submissive.
What you call it, gorilla?
That's that gorilla pimping. I ain't talking about gorilla pimping. I'm talking about a man that does what he's supposed to do, and his woman is supposed to do what she's supposed to do without him having to ask. You know, not when he come home and say, well, hey, sweetie, did you cook dinner? Well, I ain't cooked nothing. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna fly, and that's not submissive.
Well,
that's that gorilla pimping. Yeah, I ain't talking about that.
A lot of times too, we're not having these conversations. I was talking to a wonderful gentleman the other day, and that has not been the conversation that has taken place between this couple, but it needs to be, and so they're developing a way to present it.
Okay.
Because it has to be talked about.
Oh, so he hasn't even mentioned it?
Not
specifically?
Not in detail.
Oh, wow.
I think it was mentioned, but it was sort of, you know, like to be continued. Right. You know, to be tabled later. Right. But it just fell on my shoulders like a ton of bricks, because I could relate to the concerns. At the end of the day, we can go through a lot of divorces and a lot of these separations, and we see how ugly it gets. We see how unfair it is. We see how the person manifests into this person that they really always were, but now we see them in 3D.
Yeah, and it happens both. I mean, the men can be nasty too, and the women. So it can go on both spectrums. You know, because you got some men out there that can do some diabolical things as well. Yeah. And push this woman's buttons and vice versa. Yeah. You know. So, but yeah, it does happen. It does happen. When the gloves come off, they off.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you think that it's feasible to draw up the contract, or just not get married at all? You know, both sides. Really, from the woman's aspect or position, and from the male.
Well, what me and you just talked about off camera, I think that when you've already been married and you've been down that road, and you're, you know, 50 to 60, 65 years old, and you want to go down that road again, to me, you know, the friend we're talking about, you know, he's already retired. He's very, 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 very established. Good dude. My thinking is, why are you getting married? Okay. You can still love this woman. You can still, you guys can still have a life. You guys can live together. You guys can do whatever. Why you got to complicate it with the marriage? In terms of, and not only complicating it with the marriage, but now you want to turn around and say, okay, I want to marry you, but also I want you to sign this prenup. So, you know, I'm a little ambivalent when it comes down to that. You know, me, I ain't ever going down that road again. With the marriage thing. For me, personally, I just, you know, I'm at a point in my life, I'm old enough, you know, I can, you know, I can have love with someone without having to have it. Yeah, I don't have to do that. You know, I mean, you know, and never say never, but a lot of me feels like I don't want to go there again. Okay. You know, I don't know how you feel about it. I mean, you was married once before too. I mean, I don't know, but you know,
I think we all have the idea and thought. I would say that it's in the front of our mind,
Right.
that we don't want to grow old alone,
Right.
Some situations are different because we have children.
Right.
I have children. You have children.
Right.
So I don't believe that constitutes dying alone.
Right.
Some people equate it to being with a companion, a confidant,
right.
a lover, you know, and just saying, hey, I'm a, you know, grow old together.
Right.
I get that. I'm not against that at all. I just think that people should be whole, they should be realistic, and they should choose one or the other based upon not because there's a void in your life, but based upon a sole decision. I want to go this route. You mentioned off the air, you know, Goldie Hawn
and Kurt Russell
been together for over 30 years. I think it's a little longer than that.
It's probably over 40.
Yeah, they've been together as a couple, as a lover, all that time and never got married.
They like, you know, why complicate it, you know?
Yeah, and I'm not against marriage.
No, me either. I'm not opposed
pro
to
marriage.
It. Yeah.
Me personally, I wouldn't live with a girlfriend. You know, that's just me. I wouldn't live with a girlfriend. I wouldn't, you know, the saints and the older people call it shacking up. Okay. Me personally, whether I heard it when I was younger or whatever, that's just not something that I'm comfortable with because I feel like you don't have a right to question me.
Right.
So I feel like I'm giving up my independence just out of respect. You know what I mean? I'm like, no. If I want to stay out, I should be able to stay out. But it's not like that. I know. But no, I just think that prenuptials are well deserved. You have every right to protect what you worked for.
Yeah, I 100%.
I think you would be less of a person or an individual to allow someone to just walk away with nothing.
Yeah.
And then people justify it by what happened in that relationship. He cheated on me. He dogged me out. He did this, that, and the other. I'm not giving him nothing. Right. What do you say to that? And vice versa. Well, how do you feel about that?
I say one thing has nothing to do with the other. And I'm going to tell you why. It's the same thing about fathers who they don't want to pay child support to the mothers because they feel like, well, all she gonna do is do this with the money, whatever. Has nothing to do with it.
Has nothing to do with
That's your kid. If you give the money to the mother and she take it and go snort it up her nose, it doesn't matter. You did your job. Now, what she does with the money, you can't be responsible for that. But these are your kids, and if this is what you have to give her, it has nothing to do with because you guys are at each other's throat or whatever. Just give it to her.
Okay, what about this? What if you're giving it to her consistently, and she's doing those things? Let's just say she's blowing the money. Hypothetically, she's blowing the money, and every time you see your kids or every time you hear from them, they got a need.
That's something different. Now you have to address. Now you have to address it on another level.
Yeah, because it's like you giving the money for the kids. But the kids are not benefiting from the money.
Well, yeah.
So what do you do then? You step in and you say, well, hey, we're going to have to do something different.
Yeah, but that's what I say. You're going to have to address it when that happens. It's just like a father when he says, oh, I ain't giving you nothing because I don't see my kids. Well, man, that has nothing to do with it. Yeah. That's your kid. Give it to her. Yeah. Regardless of what the differences is, you know in your heart that you did the right thing. Just give it to her. And if you don't want to give it to her like that, go through the courts or whatever. That way you know that it's documented and you give it to her, you know. Yeah. So that's just kind of how I feel on that. You know, it's just, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and then the whole thing about, you know, the woman, you know, walking away without anything, or she feel like, you know, I was married and you going, well, you know, the guy should be fair about it. You know, I was married to this woman for these many years and blah, blah, blah. You know, it's not cool for me to just end this thing and she walking out of here with just a sweater on her back. No. She should get something. Yeah. You know, whether it be her having to pay, him having to pay alimony or palimony or whatever you call it. I know women I had a woman a couple months ago tell me that she got to pay her husband.
She got it. Yeah.
So it happens on both levels. There's women, like you were saying, women should have men sign a prenup as well. You got women out there that's the breadwinners, and you got the fathers that's probably, father, daddy daycare.
Yeah.
And he's taking care of the kids, and the wife's out working. I've met a few of those couples that way. So I just think people need to be fair about it, and if everybody would be fair and equal and say, hey, look, she or he deserves this. I'm not gonna just put him out in the street. Yeah. But as our friend, I think his fiance should understand what he wants to do. This man worked hard for everything that he has, and this man has a lot. So he needs to protect himself. So, and she needs to say, she shouldn't even question. She should be like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
But what if this happens? Do I get anything? And then you have to let him say, okay, blah, blah, blah. He may say, okay, I'll give, if we get married, stay married this long, and we get a divorce, you can have this or you can have that. So, yeah, it should be some sort of, understanding on what she may get, if, something happens. Michael did it. He was like, okay, look, I just gave Juanita $100 and something million, $170 million. She probably got some stock in Jordan brand and probably got some other holdings or whatever, and she probably got a lot of cash.
She got $175 million.
Right, but she probably didn't get it all in cash, but she probably got a lot in cash, a lot of it in investments and stocks. And she deserved it. She was with Michael when he didn't have all that. And she had 3 kids by Michael, and she deserved
she gave up her career.
She deserved every penny that she got.
She was practicing law at the time.
She deserved every penny she got.
Yeah.
So, but like this time around when he got married, he said, okay, I got to protect myself because I got a whole lot more than what I had then. So now let's do it like this. Okay, we stay married, like you said, okay, I'll give you $10 million for this. And like I said, I think it all equals out to like $1 million a year. When you said the $5 million after or $10 million, it kind of equals out to the same thing.
And that's not facts. I think I heard that over when he first got with her.
Right.
I don't know if he was interviewing with Oprah.
Well, it's definitely, she gets, I think it's like $1 million minimum every year that they were married. And it could be maybe 2, but I know that it's some millions, which is fair. So if he gets divorced after 15 years, she walks away with $15 million, he's still gonna have to pay child support for the twins. It's fair.
Okay.
But that's peanuts compared to what he has. But she's not walking away with a sweater on her back. She's walking away, put it this way, she's walking away whole more so than she was when she got married.
Of course, yeah, she's in better shape than she was.
Way better shape.
Before she met him.
And she can still live that same lifestyle.
Okay.
Like Dr. Dre's wife, she was acting for some ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, they laughed at her in court.
Yeah.
Now, what about normal, I would say, economics that makes sense? Should those couples consider prenups? Like, I'm just saying.
Who, broke people?
Well,
what you gonna prenup? You gonna prenup?
I figure,
that Toyota, that Pinto I got outside.
You might have a couple of classics or something you want to hold on to.
Yeah,
you might have,
my thing
income property or something.
I mean,
so I guess my question is prenuptial agreements only for the rich?
No, it's not only for the rich, but it's designed for the rich because they're the ones has had to give up so much wealth throughout these years. The last number of decades, they're the ones who've had to give up, $10 million or $15 million or whatever. So I think prenups were designed for the rich, but I wish some working class woman would tell me, well, you need to sign a prenup for what? But I make $50 grand a year. What we gonna sign a prenup for?
Because I think the prenup is to protect your assets.
What assets? Y'all ain't got nothing. Y'all live in an apartment.
Oh well, yeah, but that's not an asset.
Prenup for what? Oh, I don't want you to take my Jordans. Take them. Come on, man. But I know what you're saying. Like, you're right though. Let's say, okay, you're right. Let's say that, but you have to understand, whatever you had before this marriage, it's yours. She or he can't claim that.
Whatever you
by law, whatever you had prior to getting married, that's yours.
Oh.
He or she is not entitled to none of that. They're only entitled.
Why they're always fighting over?
Because they're fighting over what
the guy's wealth.
Because they're fighting over what he accumulated while they were married.
Well, if
he come into,
sometimes they break up early.
Yeah, but if he come into the marriage with $50 million and he already got 4 pieces of property and that's his. Now, let's say he already got the 4 pieces of property and $50 million, but then once they get married, they get 2 or 3 more pieces of property and his wealth grows to $150 million. Now she getting some of that. He's gonna have he's gonna have what he had prior. But after that date, March 1st, this is what he had. March 2nd, this is what they gonna get
Even
together.
though it's his investments turning.
It doesn't matter. Once he consummates that once they sign on the dotted line,
wow.
it's all hers.
Wow.
And his. It goes both ways. And his. But what he had or she had prior, that's hers or his. After that, now they talking about you got to kick that in.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Now let's say you marry somebody next week and you already own 2 homes and you got some income property and you got $3 million in the bank. That's all yours. But let's say right after you get married, y'all buy another house and your income goes up from $3 million. Now y'all got $10 million. Well, guess what? Anything after that $3 million, you need to kick that half. But all your other stuff is yours because this is what you had before. She or he's not entitled to none of that.
California, cold-blooded, man.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah. So as we bring this segment to a close, prenuptials are a necessity for those who have accumulated wealth and assets.
Yes, sir.
However it's fitly joined, your assets could, equal, the wealth or whatever. But I think from both positions of a wealthy woman versus a wealthy man, I think the considerations should be made at the table.
Right.
Before, not this after you get married,
right.
and
post-nup.
and then things start breaking down.
Yeah. It's too late then.
They start threatening.
Well, no, it's too late then.
I'm taking you for everything you got.
It's too late. Once they get married and you start, it's too late. We already got married. Unless she agrees or he agrees, to a post-nup. That's after the fact.
Post-nup.
Right. Once the prenup, if he or she doesn't sign a prenup, and then he starts saying, "Oh man, we get ready to get divorced." Well, can you agree? Can you sign this post-nup? Yeah, if she signs it or he signs it, now is what. But after that,
it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
He can forget that.
He can forget it. She's gonna be like, "What? Post-nup? Oh no,
she gonna go to a good lawyer.
She don't need to go to good lawyer. All she gotta say is, "I ain't signing it."
Yeah.
Or he say, "I ain't signing it."
True.
Period.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this is food for thought. You that are viewing and watching this platform and listening to this content, you should consider going to the table, discussing your future with one another, whether you're interested in marriage or not. If you're, doing well, you've accumulated assets and wealth, you should learn how to protect it. You should, be in counseling with the right people who can help you make sound decisions as it relates to, to retaining your wealth. I heard Oprah say it many years ago. I heard Bill Cosby say it. And shout out to Mr. Bill Cosby, who has been released to open society, back home again. We're praying for that family and him as well. But we should take control of our own interests so that things won't go haywire when there's a disagreement.
Yeah.
So I want to say thanks for sharing this content with me today, man. It's always a pleasure. And we gave a shout out to you, the Coalesce Group, and the Fruit Off the Vine Clothing Apparel. We appreciate everything that you've done. All of you that are following us on this platform, we need your support. We need you to like, subscribe, and share. And so until we meet again, I'm going to throw it to Charlie Mack and let him close us out.
We out, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Like my bro was saying, like, share, subscribe. Pilot, he took the seatbelt sign off so y'all can walk amongst the cabin. We good to go. Peace and love, y'all.
Peace, we out.